Hi, everyone. Today is the 12th of September, 2023, and this is the OLM working group. We have a few items on the agenda, so we'll look at those discussion topics, and then we'll go into a milestone check-in after that. So let's get straight into it. The first item on the agenda is Mikolai. Wants to talk about an RFC. Mikolai, are you here?
Yes, hello. Apologies, I do not have a camera today, but I want to talk about the RFC. I worked together with Jordan. Is it okay if I share my screen? Well, just so the RFC was open for a couple of weeks for feedback. Now we already closed the feedback, and they just want to go through it. So everyone is aware of what we have as a finalish result. So obviously, if you spot something which is like critically incorrect, let me know and or comment on the doc, and we will look into fixing it. But the basically what this RFC is about. So we in OLM v0 we have ability for operator authors to specify upgrade paths using replaces skips and skip ranges in the channel when they specify channel entries. And this works fine, but it requires manual work, so you have to do this. You have to specify each upgrade manually in channel, and we would like to simplify this UI for operator authors, so we can so that OLM v1 can rely on semantic versioning for upgrades, such as that, like for example, if there is a new patch version, we can upgrade to it without having to specify entries in the channel in the catalog. Because they are supposed to be backward compatible. There is also another thing which is improving UX for cluster admins. So we are looking into introducing the option to ignore upgrade edges defined by operator authors. So, and this brings us to the following thing. So we are looking into adding a new field into the operator CRD, which will say, hey, I want to either ignore constraints set by operator authors for upgrades or enforce them. When the field is set to ignore, we do not apply any upgrade constraints, and operator can be upgraded or downgraded to any of the versions we have in the catalogs. When we say enforce, we use the one of the semantics we have. It will be either legacy OLM v0 semantics, where we use replaces or replaces skips and skip ranges, or new semantic versioning, which and this will depend on the feature gate. For now we are prioritizing to implement somewhere, and eventually we want to implement legacy semantics in OLM v0 in OLM v1 as well. So as in the scope of this RFC, we are going to toggle between the two with the feature gate, but eventually, and again, it's out of scope, we want to be able to tell which legacy or new Simver semantics to use based on the data from the catalog. And what else? And yeah, next the RFC just goes through the details, how feature gate works, which fields we're adding to the operators CRD, and how we report issues for the resolution. So basically, just details. So that's mainly it. Again, just presenting it so that everyone is aware, and we haven't started work on it just yet, but hopefully we will soon. This is currently blocked by some other refactoring related to entity source removal, but I hope that we will start looking into it soon. That's basically it for me.
Cool. Thank you, Nikolai. I'm hearing silence, so I don't think we have any other discussion topics right now, but yes, please go look at the RFC. Thank you, Nikolai, for presenting that. The next item on the agenda is an FYI. So if for those of you who are familiar with V0, you know that we have logic for polling images at regular intervals so that you get updates that that authors push to those images. We're thinking about, or we are starting to think about the same thing for V1. So that's for catalogs. This is just the epic that was created yesterday. There's an RFC in progress, so be on the lookout for an RFC soon. If you have any questions, discussion topics, this is where you would go and comment, and also the RFC, which is about to come out soon. That's all I had for that. Then we have Joe, who is probably not here because it says he has a meeting conflict, but he wanted feedback on the GitHub views, apparently. Okay. I'm not sure if he wanted to do this synchronously on the call here. All right, let me just open it up so that if there's anybody who wants to say anything that wants to be noted down, then we can do that. Otherwise, we can comment async. I'm trying to do justice to whatever, which I probably won't be able to do, whatever he was trying to show. It looks like there's the project view. I don't know if anybody else who's worked on the project is here. Doesn't sound like it. Cool. Okay, so there's iteration 1. It's dated. It's the current iteration. It looks like it's got all the issues that we are working on. And if I scroll to the right, it's not populated, but I'm assuming that there'll be more stuff coming on iteration 2, 3, etc., etc. Okay, so there's a by repository iteration. Okay, so you can see all the in progress work for catalog D here. Oh, there's a by assignee. Oof. I don't know what value the by assignee gives, but I guess Joe would be able to say that.
Well, the benefit of this is really to show the things that a person is working on if we're ever interested in drilling down to that level. But, you know, the done doesn't necessarily give much value.
It shows a Jira-like Kanban board that we're able to use without actually using Jira. So I think just scrolling through all the dones is, as Jordan points out, isn't very useful. I think this is something we should explore on our own.
Right.
Yeah, I guess what we're really looking to get out of this more is like Joe pointed out in a later bullet there is we want to give a good surface for people to land on, especially people who are external to the maintainer pool to interact with the project. We want to make it easy for them to get engaged and make contributions. And we want them to be able to easily tell where we are in terms of the overall roadmap and how things are progressing so that they can more easily choose a place to plug in to.
Does anybody know what these numbers are? 0, 17, 24. I see a graph like numbers, but I don't understand what they are.
They look like dates. I'm seeing months directly above them.
All right.
Yeah.
September. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, if you have any more feedback on this, I guess comment on the doc. All right, I'm sure Joe will try to bring it up later on. That's as much justice as I can do, looking at this for the first time. Let's see if there's any other question. Is this useful for finding what needs to be reviewed? Is it too burdensome for maintenance to add issues or PRs to the projects and keep them up to date? I mean, personally, I feel like some of these questions will be answered once we use this tool for a couple of iterations, as we're calling them in the project. So these are probably retro items. We also probably need someone to look at them and keep them up to date and clean constantly. But yeah, I'm just spitballing at this moment. I don't know if nobody else has anything about these questions. Does it make sense to expand these projects to other than OLM v1? I'm assuming he meant OLM v0 and operator registry and stuff. Okay. Yeah, I don't hear anything right now. So if you've got anything, suggestions, feel free to bring them up in the Slack channel or comment in this doc. And maybe we'll try and bring it up later on again and see if we can get another discussion topic going on. Okay, moving on then. It looks like Todd has something. Quick version range demo. Todd, do you want to take over?
Yeah. So let me share my screen, or at least a window of my screen. Oops. Okay, let's share. Let's see. Where do I want to share? Terminal. See if this works. Okay, can you see a terminal? I'll actually shrink a little bit to make it hopefully more readable. Okay, so recently we implemented, I should say I mostly implemented the version range support, which involves replacing a lot of the BLang or Blang SEM version support and replacing with masterbinds because they have a slightly richer syntax. However, one of those syntax is actually hard to implement, or at least hard to regex using. It's hard to validate via regex. So we don't actually support everything, but we do support kind of a somewhat rich set of versions, such that you can specify the version range of an operator using version ranges. You can't we don't support hyphens. That's the only thing. So we don't support like version X through version Y because of the complexity of the regexes in the client that we need to give to the client in order to validate things before it gets sent over, so that client validation is able to be done. That being said, what I've done here is I've in the operator controller repo, I've done a make run and a make kind load test artifacts. And what this does is you can see here it loads in a few versions of the Prometheus operator, 037, 047, and 0651. So what I need to now do is I have to look at all the YAML files I have here, and this is a very quick off-the-cuff demo, so I apologize for all my ums and ums. So we need to add in the actual catalog. So I need to run OC apply -f catalog, which creates a test catalog. It's the same catalog that's used by the end-to-end tests. So that's there. The data that's there is also used by the end-to-end tests. I'm just using that as a framework. And if we look at this YAML file, this is what I'm going to try to apply. We'll see if this actually works. We know this is a real live demo, but I'm going to create an operator one that uses Prometheus. And as you can see up here, there are 3 versions that are available: 037, 047, and 0651, which I mentioned. What this should demonstrate is that given a range of greater than 037 and less than 651, we should get 047. So let's apply this and see what happens. Okay. Get operator -o YAML. So we applied that, and we can see that, hey, look, it actually resolved to 047, which was the one that we expected, because we said greater than 037 and less than 651. If we were to change that up as an example, so let's delete that real quick. Let's just delete it and edit it and say we want version less than 1.0.0 because we only want beta versions. We don't want the real version. We don't want the change in major version. I believe that is correct syntax, and we will apply it. And then OC get operator -o YAML. And we should see this should resolve to the, yeah, and it did, to the version 065 version of the Prometheus operator, which is the latest version before 1.0 in our catalog. And if I were to try to do this with a version that doesn't exist, so let's say we want version greater than or equal to 1.0.0, but less than 2.0.0, this should fail simply because that version does not exist. So it can't find it because there is no 1.x version. So we have version ranges. It works. So that's basically the demo. Any questions?
Pretty cool. The one question that I have is, it sounded like there are a lot of rules. For example, if you, when you mentioned less than 1.0.0, it'll install the latest that it can find that is less than that. Are these documented, or do we think that they'll be valuable if we document them? Should we be documenting them?
So yes, it should be documented, but we can just reference the mastermind semver implementation.
Okay.
Except, again, the only exception is we do not support the hyphen ranges. Because one of the problems with hyphen ranges, basically if you say 1.0 through 2.0, does that include 2.0 or does it include up to 2.0? it's not as precise as saying the example I gave, which was greater than or equal to 1.0 and less than 2.0. So we were a little concerned that if we did use hyphen ranges, that it may not be quite as clear or precise. Because hyphen ranges can be rewritten as these, greater than or equals or less than type ranges.
Okay. Cool. It doesn't sound like there's any more questions then.
Here, I'll actually put into this here the location of the, where the semver code comes from.
Yeah, I think as long as we call out the one quirk, which is the one no support for hyphens.
Yeah, I'll just put that in as a separate bullet.
We probably do want to have some examples in this.
In the doc site is what I mean, right?
Yeah, just make it. I mean, the point of the doc site is make sure that people understand how to use their stuff. And so like something like this is probably useful just to kind of call out. The types of examples we include, we can decide later, but I definitely think it'd be nice. Because I like right now we only support like pinning to a specific version. So or that's what we had been doing. So it'd be nice to kind of call out this new experience and what users should expect.
Yeah. Do you guys want to create an issue and track all of that stuff, or do you want us to track it as an action item here?
Let's create an action item and then we find someone to it.
Yeah. I think I can just go below. Create issue for tracking. I guess that's the or whatever this should be, but at least we have an action item to create an issue. Should there be an assignee now, or we can decide later? We can decide later. Cool. All right, Todd, was that all that you
That's
wanted?
basically it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Then I think that's everything that was there on our discussion topics. I think we've covered everything except for Joe's project views. Joe, if you're listening to this later, if you're looking at this later on, I tried my best. So we'll see if this comes up again. All right, time for milestone check-ins then. Okay, let's start with catalog D. 0.6.0. I know we've closed up all of the issues that we had planned. So there's this one, ensure HTTP endpoints are accessible outside the cluster. So maybe we should, there has to be an issue over here that says cut 0.6.0, move this to 0.7.0 and cut a release for this. Anybody from the catalog D team wants to take that as an action item right now? I'll take it as an action item. Keep opening up. Okay, that should be okay. Cool. So yeah, milestone 6.0, 0.6.0 is done from our perspective and expect a release soon. Milestone. Let me go to milestone. 0.7.0 is in progress.
Hey, Yannick, I think you mentioned you can't see the participants, right? Vu has his hand up right now.
Oh, yeah. We'll go for it.
It's a bit too late for that. I was meaning to talk the topic on the range, but that's fine. I can comment on his stuff later. No problem.
Yeah, I apologize. I can't see I am only on one screen. So if you have your hand up, feel free to interrupt me. Okay, cool. Again, apologies, Vu. All right, back to catalog D 7.0.7 or 0.7.0 is in progress and expect a 0.6.0 release soon. Moving on to operator controller. Looks like we're due 0.5.0 release too.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Okay.
Just to make
I'm
sure.
going to move out the one item that's currently open in there to the next release, by the way. So there's one that's open. This isn't going to be closed today.
Yep, that's fine.
Just
Okay.
to make sure I'm remembering correctly, do we block, like if we're cutting a new release of one of operator controller's dependencies, do we block the release on updating that, or does that follow the next release?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
So, like for example, we're planning on cutting catalog D 060. Does that mean we're blocking the operator controller 050 release on that being consumed by operator controller, or would that be a follow-up release?
I think what we'd want to do is add a ticket to so if we're going to cut, so in this case, I'm going to cut V 0.5.0 and then V 0.6.0, we should have a ticket that we add to move to the latest catalog D version, I think. But I don't think there's any like hard or fast rules like we could play. I don't think we've set any. I think that in general we've just tried to commit to time-based releases, and if we don't get it in, we get it in on the next one. Is that what everybody else remembers?
Yeah, pretty much case by case basis, right?
Yeah. Bryce, maybe could you explain an instance where you think we should delay the release because there's an updated dependency?
Oh, I don't necessarily think that there's like a particular reason other than that means operator controller is gonna probably always be behind one release on its dependencies. Which if we're okay with that, that's fine. Or we can change what the time-based release schedule is on some of the dependencies. I couldn't recall whether or not the conversation on our time-based releases was that we go like from the kind of like from the back to the front. So we say like, right, RecPack, catalog the depi all get releases first, and then operator controller consumes the new versions, and then its release is cut after that's all done. I just couldn't remember what the directive there was.
That's a good question. So I'll just kind of speak to what I believe the intent was. The intent of time-based releases was just to make sure that we're constantly cutting new versions so that latest content can be consumed, right? And so if, hey, like we were really good, yeah, maybe we'd layer when we cut the releases, so operator controller would probably be cut last, and then maybe a week before catalog D would be cut. But if we if we're saying is that the minimum requirement is that we cut a release at least every 3 weeks, there's no reason we could have the next release in this case be 0.6.0 consist only of pulling in the catalog D changes, and then as soon as that's done, immediately cut the release, right? So if I think back to why we're doing this, we're doing it so that people can use new stuff as much as they want, and like holding us accountable, saying, hey, at least every 3 weeks we do this. And if we wanted to have a super scoped release that just has the latest updates from catalog D, I don't see why we couldn't, pull those in and cut it as soon as we get it, kind of thing.
Yep, that makes perfect sense to me.
But maybe this is a good time. Maybe an action item should be like, just write down what our expectations around releases, especially when we have dependencies on other projects and what that should look like.
My vote would be to not worry about that right now, because I think you expressed the intent of this time-based releases pretty well. And setting up a cadence, I think it requires a level of coordination that I don't know what benefit we'll get out of it right now. But we can still put an action item to discuss at least, or start from, hey, is there a, cadence that should be hard-coded, and should we follow that discussion? We can start from there if folks want that. I mean, I appreciate right now that at least we're releasing every 3 weeks, and we don't have to use too many. There's not too much logistics involved in coordinating all the releases for now, so we are a little free to keep moving. That I think is the benefit itself. But it's for release. What's the spelling? We can have that as an action item. Alex, do you wanna, or do you want someone to?
Yeah, just assign it to me. I'll get to it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot for this one, but I guess it turned out that way. All right, thank you, Alex, for volunteering to head this discussion. Cool. We were an operator controller. Okay. Alex will be cutting 0.5.0 release for operator controller, and then we'll see a 0.6.0 release milestone next time we check in. Okay, so next is Ruckpack. I don't know if there's anybody who can speak to Ruckpack. It looks
Well,
like
I'm working on those,
okay.
but those ones are still work in progress, addressing PR comments, and now we will start working on the feature gate, because we need to put all that functionality behind a feature gate. I will need to ping someone to understand how to do that. I guess adding a flag in Ruckpack for enabling this feature gate, and then when Ruckpack is deployed via operator controller, adding a feature gate to add the flag, something like that. Let's have a chat with whoever can help me later.
Yeah, Catalog D actually uses the feature gate pretty extensively. So you'll probably have examples, good examples in Catalog D. I'm happy to take that discussion with you offline.
Okay.
Around Catalog D and how it uses feature gates.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and if I don't know if Ruckpack already has the feature gate infrastructure in place, it should be pretty straightforward if you look at like Onyx and Catalog D. Operator controller as well has it, and I implemented that infrastructure for both of them. So if there's any way that I can help as well, feel free to reach out.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Okay, I guess Rock Pack release is not something that we're talking about right now, so we'll come back to that later on, unless anybody feels strongly about that. Depi will skip milestone not current. So that completes the work then. Did we miss out on anything? Doesn't look like it. Cool. I think that was all that we had.
We
On
need
our-
to find a host for next week's meeting too.
Yes, I was getting to that. Who wants to, is there a volunteer for next week's meeting?
Sure, I can do it.
Cool. I'm gonna put this here. Sorry,
Yeah,
was-
like, hi, Vasha here.
yes, Varsha.
So, I should have added this to the agenda, but I just wanted to bring it up in today's meeting. I have just attached a PR. I think we have been talking, Andy and Joe have been talking a lot about V1 Alpha 2 APIs, which is in progress, and we had a PR to discuss the architecture of APIs. So there's no actionable item yet, but I have sent the PR in the chat. So it's just for the information right now that there's been work going on in terms of refactoring the entire Ruckpack controllers according to V1 Alpha 2 APIs. And there are a bunch of new stuff which would be introduced to this in terms of how unpacking is done and how things change in terms of deploying and applying contents on clusters. So I don't have a POC yet, but it should be done by next week. Meanwhile, if anyone is interested, you can take a look. Just this is not done yet, so there would be a lot of comments in the PR, but just if anyone wants to have their eyes on this and take a look and give some suggestions on anything, please let me know. And yep, that's what I wanted to inform.
Cool. Yeah, you can find that link here too. Okay. I think that was it then. That concludes our today's OLM V1 working group session. Alex,